Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Thursday, April 11th, 2024. I am Jer Stays, coming to you from the studio at Techtown. Joining me is a couple of great panelist voices that you will know around our show. To the left, Fletcher Sharpe, how are you?
I'm glad it's not Ramadan anymore. I'm glad that I'm happy to go through it, but I'm glad that I'm here able to eat and drink water while we're doing this.
What was the thing that you craved the most, or like that you dug right into once you got out of Ramadan?
Normally it's just like a cucumber, but like I also like make rice, and then I take like some Southwest seasoning and I put it on there, and it's just like a big old pot, and I just eat it like greedily. So that was a thing that I made this morning to feel whole again.
Nice. And to my right, Robin Runyan, how are you?
Great. How are you doing, Jer?
Good. A little frustrated, to be honest, because I'm a little late getting into the studio because people are really into, and I think this will be our first topic, people are really into this new Detroit sign. And I was driving down 94 on the way here. I was running some errands on the west side, and there are literally people pulled over to the side of the road looking at this sign. There are stand-ups all over the news of people into this new Detroit sign. So I feel like we should talk about it a little bit and how people feel about it. And before I get into my complete feelings, and I did write something on our newsletter for Daily Detroit, Fletcher Sharpe, what are your thoughts?
When I first saw what was like promised, or like it's going to be like the Hollywood sign, I was like, well, that seems like an odd placement to have next to the freeway, but like cool. Like I don't really know how that's going to, affect people living there, if it's going to be like the Hollywood sign, but like cool. But then to see like what they got, it really feels like they bought the sign off Temu or like Wish, where it's like you thought it was one thing and it's not, and just to see how much it costs, then to see said sign that's not what they promised, I'm certain that could have gone towards something else for sure.
To be fair, it actually looks like the rendering that the city put out, not another place put out. Like it does look like the rendering that the city put out last month. Yeah,
there was an AI thing that went around everywhere. An Instagram account shared that, and it went viral, and it turned into what everybody thought it was going to be, but it was literally, and I put this up on the site for the newsletter, literal AI nonsense, and yet everybody fell in love with it.
I mean, even still, another gripe I have is if it's going to be like a Detroit sign, like why not maybe have an Old English D instead of the regular D? I understand that's probably a bit more...
Like there's legal problems with that,
there's
right?
a bit more of that, but like something that's just not like someone just made it with like the Arial font and said, go with it. But I mean, it's getting people talking about something. So I guess in a way that's good.
I've been surprised to see like people are really shocked that it's green, and they're like, why is it green? What does that have to do with Detroit? Has anybody seen the City of Detroit website before? Any marketing materials that are in
the
Detroit?
Spirit of Detroit, which is green.
The Spirit of Detroit. I've seen this multiple times. It's like, that's actually the color of the city.
Yeah, I got in trouble with that last year when the soccer team had their jerseys with a little bit of an ambergris, and I'm like, why? And everyone's like, it's the Spirit of Detroit. So when I saw the green, I'm like, I'm assuming it's that. That makes sense. Teal, green, seafoam is like the unofficial color of stuff in the city. So yeah, that wasn't lost on me, but that's not really one of my gripes.
Well, it kind of annoys me sometimes that the only building or thing in Detroit that anybody seems to ever recognize is the Rensen. If I take a picture of downtown from anywhere that doesn't have the Rensen, they're like, it's not Detroit. It's like the only thing people recognize lately.
Yeah, people know the Rensen, and when they come into the city, they're going to see what they see and remember what they remember. Will the sign be as memorable as we think it might be? Maybe not. Honestly, for the draft, if you've been downtown and seen the event stage gone up, like that is far more impressive than the sign by the side of the freeway. Like it's crazy big.
It's like multi-stories. They've got huge numbers of streets shut down in downtown Detroit right now. And yet, like, it's only like the few office workers that are down there that are sharing anything about it. But it shows like how much people really focus on the freeway and how much like the imagery and everything captivated people. I wrote that, people love to share things that they want to be true. And I think that rendering, and it was Metro Detroit News was the Instagram account that shared it. It was something that a lot of people had like city pride, and they're like, wouldn't it be great if we had this multi-story sign? And then that set the expectation, but that was nowhere near even what the city was going to be. And so like there was no winning on this one. And the other problem for me, and this was something that Eric Thomas put together in a Instagram reel, all credit due where it is due. This was kind of something that I think one of the reasons it looks like it does is because it was designed possibly by committee, where it was completely inoffensive. There is nothing about it. It says nothing except Detroit. It's a sign, you know?
And we are a designated city of design. So that kind of hits, you know, like we should have more if people are coming in. We take pride in our art here. And so to have that go up very quickly as a way for people, you know, something for people to see when they come into the city, I don't know. I mean, if they're coming for the airport, they're going to see the tire and they're going to remember that.
And there's the football bridge in Taylor.
Yes.
There's that too. Don't forget the football bridge.
I understand like by committee means like it has to meet like certain things. It's like we want to do this and someone says no and they have to all come to an agreement. But just I feel like they could have come to a better agreement. And like I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm Picasso with art, but just like come on, man. Like it could be done better.
What I'm here for is the memes have begun. You were showing me something, Robin.
Yeah, the Schwitz put up a picture earlier with their name on it, and I think we will see a lot of that as well, which I'm here for.
And I mean, yeah, again, like I guess the sign has people talking, whether it's like good, whether it's bad, whether it's memes, whether it's people stopping to get out and take photos while, you know, it's an active freeway. It's getting the desired effect because it's the top of the talk. If you check social media, like one of the top trending topics for it is like literally the sign and like people's reactions to it. So in a way, it did what it's supposed to do.
Fair. If you've got thoughts, dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. Now, Robin Runyan, you had a report up on Urbanize. This is a cute story. There is now a robot that is going to be picking up trash on Belle Isle.
Well, we need it, obviously.
Yes.
It happens.
I was just on the island over the weekend.
My first thought was, can we have more of them everywhere, all over the city? Because we could use them. But we'll see. I mean, it'll be out there, and it'll be out there when people go volunteer to clean up. And so there's plenty to clean up there. It's part of a bigger like Great Lakes initiative and everything. So I don't know. It'll be cute. I hope it stays in one piece, but, you know.
32,000 square feet of cleaning per hour, apparently.
Yeah, I hope it does too. I'm a little bit less optimistic only because I remember a story like a few years ago. Someone made a robot that was supposed to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, and it was like a robot with like a smiley face and like arms. You're supposed to like high five the robot, and like it got out of most of the northeast of the country, and then it got to Philadelphia, and like they showed like, oh, the robot's trip is over because someone found it and ripped the arms off, and you know. Traumatic, which the cleaning robot here does not have that, which is great, but we're hoping that people let it do its job instead of, you know, thinking they could use those treads for something else.
Respect the robot.
Do you think we'll see more of these? Like, should we see them on the side of the freeway?
Maybe. I feel like side of the freeway is kind of...
I mean, there's like grass cutting... I mean, they're not Roombas, but there's like grass cutting robots now that like if you set it up, it'll just go around constantly cutting your grass.
Worried just because I'm always a worry wart. Like, say something happens or like the system goes down and they decide to just go into the free. Like, I'd rather that not happen because that's bad for many things. I'm not even like talking about the tinfoil people who are like they're gonna come up against us. We have to fight. No, but just like maybe a signal something happens and it decides instead of turning left it turns right, and like it's not really rush hour but cars are moving. Then you have a separate issue. So like. Maybe not the freeway, but like maybe around the city and other parts, like, sure, I think that would be something that could be beneficial to help encourage people to do the right thing.
Well, let's get to a conversation that a number of listeners have asked us to have, and we haven't done it yet, and I wanted to bring the right people together to do it. Could I properly describe you as a Tigers fan, Robin?
Well, yeah. I mean, come on.
I just want to be fair to you. I feel like you are.
Yeah, absolutely have been for life.
And Fletcher Sharpe, of course, follows the team. You're an on and off fan.
Not really on and off. I like them. They're one of like the original like teams that like people gravitated towards. Obviously, like when I was younger, I didn't really watch baseball. My first Tigers time trying to watch, I had Bobby Higginson, and we all know how that era went. So I was like, well, I don't know. But as they started adding more recognizable faces, Ivan Rodriguez, Maglio Ordonez, Miguel Cabrera, I was like, this is a team that I can, you know, get behind. Then they had my guy Placido Polanco, who just only hit singles. I was like, that's someone I aspire to be. So yeah, I would say that I like the team. I won't say I'm a super fan, but like I definitely pay attention.
All right. Well, as we're recording this, it's a 7-4 start. How are we feeling about this season? First off, I guess we'll go with expectations. Are we thinking 500 team? Are we thinking, could they win the AL Central? How are we with this?
My expectation is 500. I would be thrilled if we finished above 500 this year. I mean, the Central's not going to be good again, so it'd be great if we were much better than 500. We'll start to see that. And then upcoming weeks, we play Minnesota and Kansas City, so we'll see how the Central comes along. But that's where I'm setting the expectation right now.
I was very excited about those early games, but I saw some of the key flaws, including leaving a lot of people on base, where I knew at some point we would end up paying for it. Fletcher Sharpe, your thoughts?
Yeah, when you focus too much on hitting or too much on pitching and not on the other part, like that's typically where you get bit in the butt. And while the Tigers were doing great and winning games, they were doing it in a way where it's like we're really leaning on our pitching. Like when we pitch well, we're going to win. And if we don't pitch well, it's going to be bad. And unfortunately, they had a few games, even against like the Athletics, where like they didn't pitch well and they also didn't hit. And as a result, like you end up getting spanked by like statistically the worst team in the league. So like you can't depend on your pitching because eventually pitching is going to fail you for like just a bit of time. You can't only depend on your hitting because eventually your bats are going to go cold. So like they got to try to find a nice medium and figure that out because that's going to be a long season otherwise.
Where I'm pretty frustrated is that I think we're significantly under the league average as far as salary. And I feel like if we wanted to, we could spend and get a few pieces in there that would help make sure that at least we won that division.
That's kind of what I'm hopeful for. You know, we have a really young team right now, so it's going to be exciting to see if like Torkelson can really have that breakout season, if Riley Green can stay healthy and have a great season too. And if we're getting up there, if we're above 500, if we're leading the Central, in the middle of the summer, if we can pick up a big bat, that would be great.
Yeah, they're going to need it because right now they only have one person hitting over 300. They have McKinstry, who's right around it at 294, and they have Rochello, who's at 387, but literally everyone else is like mid to low 200s, and like it's not how you win divisions. That's
even a bad division like the American League Central.
I mean, yeah, like I understand that, of course, like it's one of the hardest sports to play. That's why like you get rewarded for hitting 300 because that's like 3 out of 10, and anything other sport that's terrible. But like it puts too much pressure on your pitchers to then say, I have to go throw almost a perfect game. I have to throw a no-hitter because if I give up even 1 or 2 runs, we're going to lose. That's when mistakes are made. Even with like the high professionals who are used to the pressure, like if you keep putting the pressure on them to have to succeed all the time instead of most of the time, you're going to have a bad time.
My other expectation for the season is that the team is fun to watch. I think we've had some seasons, like in the past, 8 years, that have just been a drag. And last year was fun because Miggy was leaving and we wanted to see him. But I just want the team to be fun, and I want people to get into it again. I want people to be at the ballpark and get to know the team again, because that always just lifts up the city in the summer.
This town is crazy when the team is doing well. People get fired up about the Tigers in a way that I think is second. I mean, maybe it's second to the Lions, but that's only because the Lions play just a few games a year.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. And I'd also agree with what Robin said. Like, for any young team in the city, like, if they're not going to be good, like, you prefer them to be good than bad, but if they're going to be 500 or under 500 or maybe miss the playoffs, like, just go out and compete and, like, be a fun team to watch. I'm not saying we need you to go out there like Brandon Phillips and bounce the ball off your shoulder as you throw it to first, but, like, have it be fun and have it be energetic. If you're going to go out there and get shelled, at least make it like a good 12-run loss. Don't go out there and like be down 4 or 5 runs early and everyone just drops their head to where it's like, this is no longer want to be here anymore type of style. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I would agree with the assessment of it being popular. Like I remember when the Tigers were really good, like winning the division or getting close to it, making the playoffs. You'd see Old English D's like everywhere. You'd see baseball jerseys and people who didn't like even know anything about the sport, but they're like, I know this guy's good. And then as it fell off, you kind of see those go away, and it's a little bit disappointing. So here's to hoping that they can recapture that for this season.
Of all of our pro teams, they're the oldest, and frankly, even in the American League, they're older than the Yankees. They have so much history. The Tigers and Detroit are, I think, even more synonymous than I think other sports are.
Yeah, so we've been going through this rebuild for so long. Like it seems like forever. And it would be fun to have stars again. Like it would just be fun for people to, because for a while there, you just saw like Verlander's number, you saw Miggy's number, on the jerseys. So I hope that the team is fun. We're good enough to get maybe a star or two later in the year and just go for it.
Who do we want?
I'm of the mind, honestly, of any player who wants to come here. And I know like that's like a broad and kind of a cop-out answer, but like you want to sign people who want to come here and play here as opposed to like the number. And I'm not going to call any people out, but like it seems like there's a player or two who really saw the contract and said, sure, why not? And they could probably be doing something else right now. Like, I don't know, powering a small city with the velocity they're swinging and missing. Anyone who wants to come here and actually play in this environment, play in this city, like that's all I'm for. I'm for anyone who wants to come here and get the fans behind them as opposed to who wants to come here because they're offering them like $170 million.
Are you talking about Javier Ayesbe?
If I speak, I'm in trouble. So,
I mean, I don't care what we're paying him. If he's not doing well, we should sit him, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, he's not a fan favorite.
Oh, but I mean, there's a reason.
Yeah,
when you cut a check like that, and it's clear that the Tigers are going to spend limited resources, it's really frustrating to see that. Now, I know he's done a little bit more in the defensive end a little bit, but when you get paid that kind of money, people have expectations.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen it in the stands. I go to quite a few games a year, and people are frustrated and upset. They want to see their team hitting, and if we do have the big contracts, we need more from these guys. So, yeah, it'd be great if he had a breakout year, but
I mean, if you're going to be in his position, like if you're going to hit 210 or something, like for sure you need, like in my opinion, like be a Golden Glove winner. At that point, it's like, okay, maybe your bat's not great, but like you are making zero errors out there. You're making all the plays. We can see that. We can sacrifice one for the other. But like when you're making like mental farts that should be, a second out and you're throwing the ball in the stands, like, oh wait, that's another one. At that point, like you need to be hitting, 290. Like you can do that and get away with it then. But if you're hitting so low and making mistakes out there, and like at one point I know last year they had to just sit you because you looked lethargic, then I'm like, what are we doing here?
I know this might sound a little bit negative, but I want this team to do well. And I feel like when it comes to like Detroit sports in general, I think it's good to have expectations. It's good to be like, hey, you know what? We've had a drought across most of our teams for a pretty long time. And I want us as fans to be like, hey, I would like to be 500. I mean, I don't feel like that's too much to ask.
It's really not.
I mean, in terms of a drought, the last league champion to claim Detroit doesn't even exist anymore. So
What was that?
The Detroit Shock.
Oh, man.
The Detroit Shock are the last professional Detroit team to win a league championship, and now I think they're currently the either Dallas Wings or the Las Vegas Aces, but they don't exist anymore, and like that lets you know that it's been some time. So hopefully one of these teams can break that and give the city a reason to have a parade.
How do you keep all that stuff up there, man? That's impressive.
I don't have a social life.
Have either of you seen in person or on TV that new video board?
I've seen pictures. I haven't been down there yet.
I haven't been to a game, but I saw it on the outside of, a game and being downtown. It is bananas.
I bet. And actually, Jer, one thing I wanted to say on opening day here, I was actually able to watch the game because it was on Fox 2, not just Bally Sports. I was shocked. Because the MLB generally makes it really difficult for fans to watch the game. But the broadcast was really enjoyable. It was really, and I can say that honestly for the first time in years.
Jason Benetti is one of the best voices in the game, and I enjoyed him even before he came to Detroit. He's definitely on that, the bucket list of podcast interviews I'd love to get in here, because go search for some of his speeches and things. He's not just like a game caller. He can do a bunch of sports, but I have seen him also give some amazing, motivating, colorful speeches because he gets it. It's not just about the balls and strikes. Like there is storytelling, and he brings you along with you with a passion that, no offense to anyone before him, but on the TV side, I haven't seen in years. And I feel like we are very lucky to have both Dan Dickerson and Jason Benetti kind of like leading our charge and leading our calls.
Yeah, for sure. And the team had really great rapport on air too. It was really nice to hear.
Oh, 100%. Well, I want to hear what you're thinking. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Are you excited about the Tiger season? Are you ready to go to Comerica Park, or are you skeptical? Are you going to be chasing down that cleaning robot and giving it a hand, or will you want to kick it into the Detroit River? And then, of course, that sign, because it seems like every radio station, when I was out there, I know I'm circling back to this. When I was out there taking a picture, there were literally like 12 reporters out there. Like, some people were doing like live stand-ups for this sign. I haven't seen so much buzz around something like this in so long. So
I just don't want to see anybody getting hurt. Like, it is very stupid to pull over on the side of the freeway to take a picture there.
And I saw it happen. I watch it happen. I watch people stick their hands out the thing. I hope that this subsides after a couple days and it kind of fades into the normal Detroitness. But who knows at this point?
Yeah, one can hope, because again, that's really not great to pull over. At least they're pulling over and like not slowing down in the middle, which I'm sure some people were, but at least the general people are not just like going from 70 miles and just like, oh yeah, hold on, 15. I gotta steady this, because like that's going to cause a lot of chaos, and we don't really need that on that freeway.
Well, with that, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Robin Runyan.
And I'm Fletcher Sharpe.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to drop 5 stars in your favorite podcast app for us. And of course, you can join us as a member at patreon.com/dailydetroit. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.